Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jessica Flood, Managing Director of Live Events for the New York Times, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our very first New York Times Food Festival. This food festival is as big and exciting as the city that inspired it. All weekend, there have been food tastings, live cooking demonstrations and more just down the block in Bryant Park. There are the nights, 7 evenings of exclusive dinners at 10 of our restaurant critic Pete Wells' favourite restaurants. And here in the TimesCenter, The Talks, a series of discussions from the most interesting and vital voices in today's food scene. Following today's talk, we invite you to stay, enjoy a free cup of coffee from Joe in the lobby, and visit our festival lounge downstairs. There you can grab a drink at the festival bar, watch the talks live streamed, and enjoy a scoop of the flavour of record, an ice cream created by The Times and Ample Hills Creamery, and much, much more. I'd like to give a special thanks to the New York Times Food Festival sponsors, our presenting sponsor MasterCard, our major sponsor Uber Eats, our wellness sponsor Yogi Tea, our event sponsors Bullet, Don Julio and Smirnoff Seltzer, our NYT cooking stage sponsor Sub-Zero Wolf & Cove, and our supporting sponsors AARP of New York, Badia Spices, Resi, Joe Coffee and REI. And I'd like to specially thank Deloitte, who have supported this talk, and introduce Bonnie Cantor, Managing Director of Deloitte, to just say a few words.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie Cantor. I'm Managing Director at Deloitte, and I get the privilege of welcoming you to this amazing event. While Deloitte may be known more for data analytics and auditing than culinary greatness, sustainability is a key focus and area of expertise for our firm. A sustainable food chain is important in many, many different ways, from the ability to enhance the health and welfare of people to driving local employment. Food impacts everyone on the planet and can play a key role in business growth. At Deloitte, our teams work with organizations to help them see the possibility of how sustainability can transform their business and society. Hence, our support of today's Feed the World talk. And in addition to being a New York Times Food Festival sponsor, we're also proud sponsors of the James Beard Foundation, an organization that shines the spotlight on the importance of food access, public health, and sustainability. I hope you enjoyed today's talk, and thank you.
And now on to our program. These days, it's almost impossible to talk about food without touching upon its impact on society, politics, culture, and much more. But how much can we really change? We are honoured to have Massimo Bottura, chef of Osteria Francescana, the 2-time winner of the world's 50 Best Award, and Ruth Reichl, former Times restaurant critic, gourmet editor, and author, here on stage to discuss. Please welcome them to the TimesCenter stage, along with our NYT cooking columnist, Melissa Clark.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This talk especially is one of the most important ones. I mean, they're all important, but to have these two together on stage to talk about how to feed the world, I think is a moment that we should all mark and listen really carefully to what they have to say. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Massimo, you flew in just for this. You're here for 20 hours just to talk to us. So, no. You know, that's commitment.
I said before behind the scene, when I hear someone say, I'm too busy, I can't come, I'm like, okay, if you want to be there, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So if you want to cook there, we're going to cook together. No excuses, no more excuses. That's it.
Right. And you never make them. So I want to ask you, right now we're seeing a trend of chefs becoming activists, social activists. And I want to ask you personally, there you are, you have your restaurants, you have your beautiful Francescana, you have a lot of recognition from the world. What made you decide that you needed to take your career in another direction and do social activism?
I don't know. I don't know. It was such a... Okay, wait.
Get comfortable. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So, I grew up in a place called Emilia-Romagna. It's in the middle of the Food Valley. And it's a place where we are kind of social. We learned since we were kids that if you stay together, your voice can be louder. And stay together, we save the balsamic vinegar, Parmigiano Reggiano, all this kind of product, because we create consorti, so it means the union of all these families, because it's all about families, that they stay together. And we create all together like this kind of important impact on gastronomy and food. We grew up, I always say, in my vein there's balsamic vinegar, and my muscles are made by Parmigiano Reggiano. But it is true. I grew up even with my grandmother that was always whispering on my ears, don't leave the table if you don't finish the food. Because it's like, you have to remember that we didn't have anything once, and we were like eating polenta, touching the polenta with a ring in the middle of the table. So we were eating polenta in a ring, but just the memory of an ring, because there was just an ring. So with the polenta, you were touching the fish and imagine to eat polenta in a ring, just that polenta. And so this is kind of approach that is like so important, or where we were like the 8th of December in the country, killed a pig, and the pig was giving the life to the family. The pig has a name, and it was part of the family. But, my grandmother was always saying, it's an act, very spiritual action. You have to be respectful of what you do and use every single bones of the animals that is giving the life for the family. So once you have this kind of approach, is normal that you're gonna transfer this kind of this attitude to all your team, your staff, because your staff is your family. And because you pass most of the time with that, so Lara, Charlie, Alexa are my family, but my large family is the team of Osteria Francescana. And what we are doing every day, we are 82 people, and we are feeding 30 cover at lunch and 30 at dinner. So we feed 60 people every day. They come from all over the world. But we are 82, so we have to feed 160 meals to the staff meal. And so it's the approach we have with all these different preparation that we do in our osteria. Like we don't waste any single piece of bread, because the bread is talking to us, because bread is part of our life. Because, we have learned that we have to talk with the ingredients. We have to ask, so, tomato, how do you feel? Are you just picked or you're overripe? So if you talk with the tomato is going to tell you what to do. And the tomato is going to answer to you. If the piece of bread is just baked, beautiful, smelly, beautiful bread, you can serve at the table and break it and share with people. If it's 2 days old, you can, make panzanella, squeeze some tomato or like whatever, and or papa al pomodoro or whatever. If it's like 5 days old, you can grate and make breadcrumbs and make breadcrumbs noodles.
Yes,
that I was
which we make together.
In your kitchen.
Yes.
Like mixing a little bit of Parmigiano, a little bit of couple of eggs, breadcrumbs, mix it, squeeze into a potato squeezer, into a chicken broth, and make passatelli. That is the best and most warm meal, that my favorite meal of Charlie and Alexa. So this is the way and the attitude. And so what we did, we brought this idea to the Universal Exposition. Universal Exposition theme was Feed the Planet, Energy for Life. So we decided to feed the planet our own way. Every single state came to me and asked for, to set the party for the 4th of July, the Prise de la Bastille, the French, whatever. But no one asked really what I was thinking about Feed the Planet. So I decided to do it by myself and knock at the right door, and the church gave me this, because in my mind I had this idea of create a refectorio. You all know about this, right?
Well, we're going to ask, let's tell them about it. So this was in Milan.
Okay, don't worry about that.
So this was in Milan originally.
This was in Milan during the Universal Exposition.
And so there you are, and you're seeing an amazing amount of food waste, right? And you're seeing...
It's like, numbers are there.
Right.
The numbers are there. We are 12 billion people on Earth. We produce food for 12 billion people. We are 7 billion on Earth. We waste 1.3 billion tons of food every year. That means 33% of the production is wasted. It's insane. We use water, human capital, energy to produce food, and then we burn it. We are there are 860 million people on Earth. They don't have anything to eat.
And so there you are. You're seeing all of this.
Feed the planet means fighting food waste. And fighting food waste in our way is also involves so many different aspects. But first of all, as I said many times, this is a cultural project. This is in your mind, not waste food. That for me is not food waste, is surplus. So, and I've learned during many conversations that we waste, Google had this enormous search on, and we waste food, first of all, in our home. So this is what we do, is we trying to set an example. As the title, no? Best chef in the world is opening a soup kitchen in the most neglected neighbor in Milan. It's wow.
And that was the first refectorio.
Yeah, that was the first refectorio in Milan.
And so there you are, and you're seeing a lot of waste, especially because there's an exposition there, right? And that's where you have a lot of you have food service, and you're seeing it just wasted, and you're thinking, I'm going to take all that food, and I'm going to bring it to, you brought it to, it was a church, it was an old...
It was an old space. It was an old theater from 1930 in the most neglected neighborhood in Milan, and full of dust and rats. So in 1 year, we rebuilt this old space, thanks to the architects, the designer, the artists, because I always thought to involve all these subjects that talk about creativity and beauty. Because in my mind, I thought that beauty was something very special. It's always been something special. Like mentioning Camus, with beauty you don't do the revolution, but one day the revolution will need the beauty. So one day when you did the revolution, you need beauty to rebuild. And beauty, I've learned that really help us to rebuild the dignity of the people.
Right.
So what we did 1 week before the opening, was checking the whole list of the volunteers. They signed, and there were so many volunteers, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. So I said, okay, let's change everything. I don't want to do anymore this old way of serving in a soup kitchen with the tray, everyone in line, like this, put the food in there. No, that's not what we want to do. We want to create amazing meals for people sitting at the table. For volunteers, they were saying, welcome. Welcome, people. Enjoy your dinner.
And so the aesthetics.
And thanks to the chef, they brought the beauty of their creativity, their time, their imagination to turn the surplus food to amazing meals. So this was something that was so powerful, but so incredibly well received by all these guys that, 2 weeks later, they became gastronomic critics. It's like, no, it's not a joke. They were they look at Alain Ducasse, like the French with the, like this attitude. Are there some French here? Good. You know how Ducasse is. You're not French. Oui, bien sûr, je suis français. And, and these guys, they were playing jokes with them. And they said, but the food, we want to eat some pasta. They were in Italy, and they were serving soups. And so, it's like, it's crazy how everything exploded in our hands, but we didn't know exactly what to expect. We jumped, it was totally unexpected, this amazing, feedback that we had. And one day after the Universal Exposition, I received a text message from, at 5 in the morning, and Lara turned to me and said, "Who's texting you at 5 in the morning?" I said, "The mayor of Rio de Janeiro." What does he want, the mayor of Rio de Janeiro at 5 in the morning? He wants the refectorio in Rio de Janeiro. And said, and what did you answer? Why not?
That's exactly you. Why not?
Yes, why not?
So Ruth, when you first heard about what Massimo was doing, it was revolutionary, but it was also such a simple concept. What was your first thought, and how did you change how you thought about it as you saw him grow?
I'm just thinking how much things have changed in the 50 years I've been writing about food. And Massimo just explained this in one way. Because 50 years ago, when I started writing about food, when you went to a chef and asked for a comment, you got kind of yes or no. you did not get this kind of articulate vision. So what has happened in the ensuing time is chefs themselves have changed enormously. We now have these incredibly bright, visionary, articulate men and women who are running kitchens. And if you run a kitchen, you can't not think about the contradiction that you are putting out beautiful food for very rich people. And it bothers you that in a world where half the people in the world go hungry, it hurts you. I mean, people who care about food are generous. I mean, hunger is all of our issue.
This is very important.
And chefs didn't used to think about that. They just sort of put their heads down and cooked. And then, I started noticing over time, I remember in the 80s having discussions with Wolfgang Puck about how much food was going to waste, and that, 3 miles away there were people who were hungry, and how could they get the food from one place to another. And you started seeing, various organizations grow up to
like
try
City
and
Harvest.
City Harvest and other organizations. And, SOS started, which is a chef-based organization, started thinking about it. But when Massimo did this, it was like a huge leap from let's just gather the food to how do we take all of our ingenuity, all of the things that we're most passionate about, and make it a beautiful experience for people. How do we get, we please people every day. And that's what we try and do. We're in the pleasure business, right? How do we take this and change it from something that is a kind of alms for the poor, right? To something where we say, we want you to experience food in the way that we do, and maybe that will change you in some way. It's a very ambitious idea.
It's true. It is true.
You were talking a lot about dignity.
That was happened.
Yeah.
That exactly what happened. Is like, first of all, no one chef, and I'm talking about the most influential chef in the world, said no. They flew from everywhere. Just because they were at the Universal Exposition or whatever, they arrive and they cook. and they left with tears in their hearts, you know. It was amazing, and they were asking to come back. In London, like the chef from the city, you know, they were like, they are sending, still now, kids or employees or stagiaires in the day off to cook at the refettorio there. In Paris, it was like all the 3 Michelin stars from France, they arrive and they cook. So it's like, and more than that, as I was like enjoying what she was saying, you know, and Ruth was like, is like one of the things that was more important is like the beauty of the place that really changed the whole neighborhood. That now Greco, that was like the most neglected neighbor, we were there 2 days ago with the Chinese
That's
television.
in Milan. That's the neighborhood.
Milan.
Yeah.
Was like, you couldn't walk into, because it was like a place for drug dealers, like it was insane. Now is the most amazing place where all this new construction, the people, but the most amazing thing is that the people, they were protesting, the neighborhood, they were protesting against the opening of a soup kitchen because they were saying like, they were fighting for their own small apartment, you know. They are now part of the community. So it's like, we brought light in the middle of the neighborhood, and the light make all the bad people, you know, living. And we brought, you know, beauty, the sense of being together. We empower the whole community. The whole community is part of this. They are all volunteers. They are cleaning the whole neighborhood. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. In exactly what happened in every place that we create.
So how many do you have right now?
Right now we are 7, and 1 is opening now in Mexico, in the old city of Merida, in the UNESCO protected downtown of Merida. The Chapur family is renewing a convent that was abandoned, and in the convent is going to be our refettorio, a changing room for the people. They can take shower, changing the clothes, and from the people of Merida, they donate. So we have like washing machines. They're like,
so they can.
Yeah, they can really refresh themselves before coming and eat other things. And it's going to be, even in Mexico, a cooking school, because this is another part of our project. Inside the refettorio, the first one was in Brazil. We created a cooking school in the back of the refettorio, in which we were inviting we were focusing on women, the women out of the favelas, out of poverty, teaching them a job, and giving them an opportunity for the future. And one of them became a star in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
this is David's project?
Yeah, David asked to bring the refettorio project in there, so Gastromotiva. And it's amazing, and like in Bologna too. This family, Bologna is focused on refugees and migrants families, but families. So it's very easy, because when you have kids around, everything is so easy to do it, because it's party every night. Yeah. and people, like kids, are running, come in the kitchen, sneak, steal chocolate and whatever. And but we create a cooking school project, and now a family from Peru, the migrants from Peru. They became now. Jonathan is the head chef at the refettorio he couldn't find a job, a permanent job, and he did this program, and he signed for the program, and he graduated, and now he's the head chef at the refettorio in Bologna.
Wow.
I mean, the thing that's so great about this is the idea of it is so expansive. I mean, the idea is that food is more than something to eat.
Yes.
Food is a force in the world, and how do we use this? And so it's not just, about waste or sustainability. I mean, it's about connections, and it's about thinking about food in the broadest sense and thinking about hunger in the broadest sense. So, I mean, and it's expanding the idea of what a restaurant can be.
You had once said that you wanted 10,000 of these across the world, and you didn't want anyone even to notice that they were there because you wanted them to become...
I thought 1,000, but it's okay.
Maybe I exaggerated a little bit. But the idea was that it was going to become part of culture.
But I want to connect with that because we just opened Casa Maria Luisa. You're going to come and experience in 2 weeks. So, we opened Casa Maria Luisa. We didn't know what to do with this, country place. But at the end,
it's so beautiful.
But at the end, we decided to create in the carry space. These three tables. Last minute, with 3 tables exactly as we had in Milan. And so what we decide to bring back. First of all, in the world in which people building walls. You have a president that loves walls. In a world in which people wants to build walls, we break walls. And we do whatever we know what to do the best. Like, we open our arms and we say, welcome. Welcome, everyone. And especially the Italians that I'm talking all the time with all the politics and the people, they're like migrants from the 120 years. They go everywhere to find a place to work. We didn't have. We were poor, and now they are complaining. So the point is, we put these 3 tables. We broke the walls. We opened the kitchen. We are cooking in front of the people, and we invite people to sit around the table and share a table on the fine dining experience. But now there's a very interesting story. But, so we didn't know what to expect because, we ask you we brought the concept of the refettorio inside the fine dining. Before, we brought the concept of the staff meal inside the refettorio. Now we are bringing what we have learned, the most powerful things that you just mentioned, of sharing a meal around the table all together into the fine dining. Wow, what's going to be? I don't know. We jump as usual. So first 3 service, amazing. Very easy, but mild, very good. Then Saturday night, first Saturday. 1 table, 8 people from United States. First 2, first two very liberal from Boston. The second 2 very Republican from Texas, sitting close to the other. The other 4 people, 4 friends from Boulder, Colorado. They were smoking pods in the park the whole afternoon. So imagine when they approached to the table, how they were like. And then they sit close to the 2 Republicans from Texas. I said, oh my God, tonight is going to explode the bomb inside the refectory, the Maria Luisa, whatever. Guys, at the end of the meal, these 8 people made a reservation next year, same people, same table, same day. So this is the power of sharing a meal around the table. Eating a meal together around the table, sharing, talk to each other, leave your phone on the side, and talk to people is exactly what you were saying. It's much more than simple food. It's touching your heart. It's touching, the chord of the unexpected. And you open yourself. And this is the way, we are expanding, and we are trying to feed the people in the world, We're trying to move the refectorio experience into every single dark place to bring light and make everyone, shine,
Yeah.
This is the way.
And what you were saying about opening 1,000 of them that nobody should notice, and I love this because what you were saying is that it should become so much part of culture that it's not exceptional anymore.
Yeah.
It's not, this is just part of every city, and I want to talk about that too, like how you change the culture.
You said, yeah. Culture is the right word.
Yeah.
You know, culture is the most important word. It's like the chef of the future that has to start with culture. Culture is the most important ingredient for the chef of the future. You know, with culture, it opens up so many possibilities, and it's like you're gonna be much more sensitive on things and open mind. Cultural project means ours is not a charity project. Ours is a cultural project. That's why we communicate. That's why we need to talk with as many people as we can, because we have to feed the people with culture, with the idea that wasting food is not acceptable in 2019. And the culture is the culture of my grandmother, who didn't have anything to eat growing up with to raise a family. Culture means you know, to communicate this, communicate how the most amazing chef in the world, they can, you know, approach unloading the truck in the morning and cook whatever they have, you know. And that's why we create a book like Bread is Gold. That's why we communicate, we do conference. And now, you see, I have this perception. We were talking in the backstage, you know, everybody are talking about this project and about food waste. And this is because we keep communicate, sharing. This is very important.
Let's talk about your book for a minute, Bread is Gold, because I think it's actually really important. You were just saying that food waste happens in every kitchen, in every place. It's not just part of the restaurant industry. It's not part of you know, corporate industries. It's part of our own habits. And I know, Ruth, I know that this is something that you also have been thinking a lot about, and you've written a lot about as well. Personal responsibility for each one of us. And so you wrote this book, right, which shows us how to be better stewards of our own ingredients. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
The book is extremely important because it's telling you how you can really approach to food, as I was saying in the beginning, looking at the food and you know, understand. I have a good story.
You always do.
You know, this is okay. I'm trying to focus because otherwise I'm gonna get lost into all my
too, though.
ideas. You know, like okay, I'm focusing on your question. So the book was like it's about you know, it's about raising money for Food for Soul to open these things. It's about communicate what you can do. It's about open the mind of the people, especially the big companies like Google, that they look at the book and they approach us, the girls from Food for Soul, and they said, so what we can do together, we can create a platform, you know, where all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes that we create from Milan to Rio de Janeiro to Paris, London, Bologna, Naples, you know, they can be storage in this platform. Each one of us can go Google and find a solution for some food waste, you know, to fight food waste. So this is the approach that we want. We want to communicate. We want to change the mind of the especially the young generation. But I have this kind of super positive feeling because I have this kind of I've been reached by so many young kids and teens and cooks and you know, they really love the project. They really embrace the project. But, you know, once you learn from, I am the first one who has to learn, especially when you have to confront, for example, I was approaching to create a pesto alla genovese, no, with basil, classic things. But the day before, I didn't. They use a lot of basil that I've seen the day after. That I seen in the refrigerator. So I had to confront what I can do, because I promised all these guests to have pasta and pesto the day after. So what I did, I was like, okay, what I can mix with pesto. So I connect with my mental palate, and I understand that the basil is matching perfectly with mint, and especially if it's July, and is matching perfectly with thyme, but not with rosemary and sage. So I put together the three, and I create the pesto with basil, mint, and thyme. But at one point, I didn't have pine nuts, because they're too expensive. I couldn't go out and buy pine nuts because I promised that. So what I did, I switched pine nuts with breadcrumbs, and it came out as such an amazing pesto, much lighter than with the pine nuts, and the people loved it. This is an example. But the second example was in Brazil. I've learned in Milan how to work with the bananas peel. And especially the brown bananas. The four more wasted food are bread, bananas, milk, and salad.
Milk and what?
Banana, bread, salad, and milk. So what I did, I was in Brazil. Brazil is wasting 55% of the production. 55.
Of bananas specifically?
In general.
Of everything.
Food, of everything. Okay. Every day in Rio de Janeiro, 11 tracks full of food and fruit and vegetables are burned, because it's more expensive to distribute the food to the 2.5 million people that don't have anything to eat than burn it. So they burn it. They don't care about climate change. They don't care about anything. They do it. So this is crazy. So we had this whole kitchen full of bananas every day, and all these volunteers, they were cleaning bananas. And I said, what are you going to do with all that bananas? Okay. So I said, okay, guys, for the opening, I'm going to make carbonara. So I was kind of safety, because I brought with me guanciale, like just as a simple, simple things to just pay tribute to all these people, and serve carbonara, make sure that, some Italian icons. But I don't know why someone decided to use my guanciale for staff meal. So the day I was there to make like the carbonara, I wasn't without guanciale. So what am I supposed to do? So what I did, I've learned in Milan from this amazing Katia Barbosa, this amazing woman from the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, how to work with banana peels. So what I did, I had just left this piece of guanciale, so I blanched the banana peels. Are you interested in this?
Yes,
okay, good,
very much.
Good. I blanched the banana peels, then I toasted them in the oven. Then once they were very toasted, I cut it as they were like cubes of guanciale. Then what I did, with the guanciale left, I put in a classic gastro from the oven, and I sliced the guanciale very thin on the top of all the banana peels. They're already toasted. And I put in the oven, I melt the guanciale on the top of the banana peels. Then I took all the gastro outside, inside this piazza, in front of the refettorio. I started these smoke things, that handmade smoke stuff. I was smoking the whole neighborhood, like with this kind of crazy stuff. I put all the banana peels there, and I smoked the banana peels. You were tasting. It was like guanciale. Then I make the carbonara with the banana peels. And no one journalist, gourmet, they were inviting at the opening, recognized banana peels from guanciale. So I made the most perfect carbonara you can ever imagine with banana peels.
Oh my God.
So that's why, that's how you create things,
Oh Oh my God, that's amazing.
But a very important exercise that I did in that moment when we were working with banana was the way to teach the volunteers how to taste.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you don't know how to taste the flavor. So they were make sorbetto with bananas. And I was tasting. And I tasted and I said, it doesn't taste anything. It tastes just sugar. But how much sugar did you put with these bananas? They said 50%. I said, 50%, it's disgusting. It's killing your body, 50% of sugar with brown bananas. You don't need anything. So let's try this exercise all together. Let's put these bananas and make it with 30%. You have 50%, we make one with 30, one with 10, and one with 0% of sugar. You use the most amazing banana you ever taste. You like brown bananas. They are unbelievable. They're melting in the palate with such a, wow, explosive taste. Then we start tasting from 50 to 0, and they learn how to make a sorbet with those amazing brown bananas with 0% of sugar. So this kind of exercise teach you also how to feed people in good and healthy food, not just fried and sodas and things. But when you taste, espresso, for example, you taste an espresso, most of the time, the Italians are so nostalgic. They don't understand that the espresso they are drinking like this is just burn shit. And and I'm saying, why you have to drink an espresso like that? Just taste what you have in the palate. The exercise is very simple. Get a still water on the side. Okay, but don't tell anyone. Don't write what I'm saying, because they're gonna kill me. When I'm going back to Italy, they're gonna kill me. So don't tell anyone, Don't tell anyone. It's gonna stay here. What is said in New York stays in New York. Okay. Okay. Close all the doors. I want everyone sign this. Okay. So what they do, take a small glass of still water, drink the espresso, and drink the still water. You realize what you have in the palate. If you have beautiful almond, toasted, incense, chocolate, hazelnut, that's a good espresso. Because the beans are being toasted very well, treated very well, etc. If you taste just burned stuff, that means it's Robusta. Even if it's very creamy, because Robusta gives a lot of creaminess, if it's very creamy, but it's you don't have anything in the palate, it's just burned stuff. So it's very important to stimulate your palate and understand what you are eating,
So I think all of you probably have some questions that we want to ask Ruth and Massimo. So we have some mics on the side. We're going to start lining up. I'm going to ask you
Easy question,
We don't have time for a lot of them, but if anyone wants to ask some questions, we're going to start in a minute. And then if
this
we can,
guy.
No, we're lining up at the mics. So if you want to ask a question.
I saw he's
Okay, but we're not going to be able to hear him. So
okay, whatever.
Do you mind going up to, can you get out? Let him out. Let the gentleman out. Yeah. And we're going to line up at the mics and ask questions. If we can turn the lights just so I can see everybody who are...
Not just from that side.
Yeah, we've got both sides. So you see there's a mic over there. Anyone wants to ask? All right, but we're going to start over here.
Hello. I was wondering, as a cook, I work a full-time job. I go and I help another friend's restaurant out on my weekends. How do you get fine dining cooks to make the time to volunteer when they're trying to work and get the work-life balance as well?
Cook is an act of love. So it's not good or fine dining or bad dining. Is you can cook good food or bad food takes the same time. So if you know how to cook, it's am I right? If you overcook some, I'm telling you a story about Chang, the chef de partie at Osteria Francescana, who cooked the pasta meal for everyone in Italy, in my restaurant. He overcooked the pasta all the time because Chinese have this kind of approach. It's amazing. But it starts a very big discussion about how to eat pasta too al dente, not al dente, medium, and this. And Chang is super smart guy, and he's like, okay, what was the question?
The question was, how do you find the time? You want to volunteer, but how do you balance it? I don't know. Maybe Ruth should take a stab at that one.
Ruth. Okay, go back to seat. It's okay.
We said easy questions.
This gentleman.
You're gonna find the time. If I find the time to come here, you're gonna find the time to go and come in our new refectorio that we're gonna open in New York and work with us. You know, for sure you're gonna find it. It's all here. You know, you feel it inside and you do it because. As she said before, cooking, who does this kind of job? That is the most stressful, incredible stressful job in the world. You know, it's because we love it and because we are born to give. So the day off, you're gonna come and you're gonna experience once. Then you're gonna want to come twice and 3 times. And then it's like normal. This is the way.
Okay.
Hey, good afternoon. I actually have 2 questions. I think the first one was, could you talk maybe around the challenges that you faced in setting up the refectorio?
I'm sorry?
The challenges that you faced in setting up the refectorio, you know, what were the biggest challenges and the challenges that you foresee in the future? And the second point was around sustainability of the refectorio when you rely on the volunteers or if you're changing the face of a neighborhood, for example, and gentrification, just if you could talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the challenge was incredible because that was in the beginning. So now it's easy because everybody knows about the project. And, you know, just this morning we received a mail. Jill is here with me. And we received a mail from Portugal. They have the space. We received a mail from Chicago. They almost have the space. So just this morning. So everybody wants to help us. And everybody wants to help. And, you know, it's gonna be, it's not easy, you know, because it's like you need the right partner because of the real estate, especially in places like New York or San Francisco. They're very expensive. But, you know, it's much easier. But when I first approached for Milan, no one, but I swear, no one understood what I had in mind. But not even Lara, my wife. She was saying, you know, we fight all these years to create, you know, this restaurant. They're gonna kill you. You know, I said, don't worry, we'll do it. But now it's easy to say, it was a good idea. At that time, everybody thought, you know, a cook from Via Stella in the small town of Modena who wants to create a pavilion at the Universal Exposition outside the Universal Exposition. That was crazy. But that was the key. Because first I had in mind the Miracle in Milan at the train station in Milan. But the Pope said, no, it's better to bring light in the periphery. Because the periphery is where they need the light, not center the train station in Milan, because from 1950 really changed the whole perspective. So we brought the light, we brought the project in the Quartiere Greco, close the refugees house, and in the safety place called is a place where the kids they can play is like a kids, you know, how many question, you know.
We may not get to all of them, don't worry.
You know, like we recreate this old neighborhood, and it's like it's beautiful. So it was like we did it. I don't know. You know, you get the right feeling. Now, if you want to do it, you meet with Jill, and she's gonna push you and organize you. And create a refectorio in Buenos Aires or, you know, in Tokyo for 2020 at the Olympics, you know. But this is a very important approach. And then the second question was? The second question was around sustainability, right? How to make sure each one of a refectorio has his own idea. Because the real heroes of this project is not me. It's the people, like the organization, they take care of the everyday life. So in Paris, what they did, the mayor of Paris and the Archbishop of Paris gave us the crypt of La Madeleine. So the big La Madeleine, one of the most iconic places in Paris, we are in there. We are in the crypt. We brought light in the crypt. And, so we created a popular restaurant, very, very cheap, like affordable, like 15, 20 euros every day, and it's packed. And so we make the money to sustain. London is such a beautiful space that companies rent the space and pay a lot of money to support the refectorio and, rent the space. Each one of them has his own idea, and David with Gastromotiva has a cooking school, has a small restaurant, he sells the space for events. So that's the idea of be sustainable. And, the food, we have so much waste that, one thing that we didn't say that is very important, like we gave such a big example at the Universal Exposition in Milan that Italy and France, two of the most important cuisine in the world, So that's why they understood immediately the project. They passed a law against food waste, inspired by us. So think about that. A cook from Via Stella in Modena is inspiring, but no, not just me, everybody. We inspire, like, the politicians to pass the law against food waste. The other week we were I was invited at the United Nations to talk at the United Nations for the Climate Change Week. And Angela Merkel, when she saw me, she like, "Hi, so how was everything doing?" Because she was so into this project too. She was supporting. Like Barack Obama asked me to go to Palm Springs to talk at the round table about all the implication that this project has. So it's like, there's a lot of things to do, but we are already there, no?
And the thing that's so inspiring about this generation of chefs is they do the impossible. They just, Jose Andres goes to Puerto Rico with a credit card and says, "I know how to feed people." And, I hope there are people in this room who will just do the impossible because it can be done, and they're proving that it can be done.
Jose has a very, very important project. He's working with the food bank since a long time, and he's the first, he's like 911, I'm coming, and he's going with all this he creates. For us, it's more cultural and spread and, focus on food waste, climate change, all these goals of the United Nations.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is going to be, we're going to just do you, and then we're going to do you, and that's all we're going to have time for.
Oh, come on, Melissa. Don't be so...
We got to stick to the schedule. Stick to the schedule.
And
wait.
I love that guy. Look at the last one.
Wait. I have to tell you
something.
He's so young. I have to tell you something, though. Listen to this. This is very exciting. Massimo is going to be signing books right outside.
I'm not signing anything.
He's signing everything. No. But everyone can ask their questions directly to him and come meet him in person. And he would love to talk to you, as you obviously can see. But it's important.
But he has a plane to catch.
I have to catch a plane.
But we'll have time. There'll be more time for questions outside after this. So keep them coming. But for now, we're going to do you, and then we're going to do you.
So. I've been very lucky to be a volunteer many times at the refectorio in Paris. So it's a fantastic experience what I want to say is a fantastic experience for the guests, of course, but also for all the people who volunteer. It really changed my vision. And now I move back to New York, so I'm a bit sad. So I wanted to know, and you started to answer a bit about this, what are your plans in the US and in New York City specifically?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, close the door. Close the door.
Again, all off the record.
Don't talk with the New York Times, okay? We are already planning in New York. We were planning since 2 years ago to open in the Bronx. And, but we had some problems in there, too much talk. And so I stepped back because I don't want to be manipulated. So I want fresh and real souls that are part of this. And we met this pastor that is in Harlem, and and he would love to be part of these whole things. And I'm crazy about music. I'm crazy about art. We had a great event at Red Rooster in May, and so we are like, there's a lot of things that are already there in Harlem, especially because he's on the other side of, I'm a brand ambassador with Gucci, and Dapper Dan is working with Gucci too, and he's on the other side of the street. So everything is connecting, and they really are interested in investing in Food for Soul and help us to open Harlem and this amazing pastor that he really loves to sing. So it's gonna be like a repertorio, music theme. It's gonna be party every night. I'm sure it's gonna be party every night in New York.
Oh, thank you for asking that question.
And United States also. We have Dina Powell of Goldman Sachs. We have David Rosenberg of Amazon. Google is helping. Salesforce is trying to build a platform since a long time. Salesforce, come on, man. We need a little bit of push, because with a platform we can share with everybody who wants to join us. These kind of ideas, and maybe he wants to help. Where is he? He wants to help and maybe do something, and we can help them very easily, through that, and connect all the people they believe in our project, all over the world. So this is what we are doing now.
Thank you.
We have a lot in the plate. But I want to hear the question from that guy. Come here. Yeah. Don't read. Has to be come.
All right, while he's coming up, let her ask her question, then I promise we'll get to you, because you've been waiting patiently.
Thank you both for being here.
Look at this guy.
He's going to be next. He's going to be next.
Look how cute he is.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, go.
He's going to be next, I swear. Oh, come on.
I think Massimo would really like to hear.
Okay, let's do you. Sorry.
What are you doing? Are you chewing?
I had a candy in my mouth, so you could go first. Yeah.
Throw the candy.
Okay, so I've been living in New York for about 6 years now. Originally, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and recently I took a trip home, and I've been witnessing my own local neighborhood undergo some pretty dramatic changes. The grocery store nearest to my home is about 2 to 3 miles away. But right up the street from where I live is a community garden. Something I've been thinking about then is where my energy needs to go in terms of thinking about where the most critical structural change needs to occur. Is it empowering people to grow their own food, or is it investing in the structural changes to increase food access and then decreasing food insecurity?
This is a big question.
No,
because I have seen so many things in these years. We went to Detroit, Denver, in the Hispanic community. They don't have any supermarket. They share from house to house, things. It's really shocking sometimes, but one thing that I'm thinking could be incredible. Maybe someone that is going to be a millionaire one day here is going to help us with this idea. Think about this. If we can put together all the surplus, maybe frozen food, maybe healthy, things, but, surplus food all together, and distribute and create a free supermarket for people in need. That what maybe could be very interesting in those communities. I was thinking about that in Denver. Ask the guys, they really have access to big quantity of food that they're wasting a lot of stuff, to bring it in a free supermarket in which we invite people to come and get food for free and, feed themselves, feed the family. with surplus food that is perfectly edible, amazing, and especially in this Hispanic community, it's part of our Latinos' attitude of, eat together, stay together, families, that could be a very interesting idea to empower those kind of communities. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, it's very big, and it's a big problem here.
Thank you.
Ecco qua!
This might be an hour-long conversation, but recently I was staging at a 2 Michelin star restaurant, and
where?
Midtown. I'm not going to say, but and they.
You didn't say.
They are.
No. If you don't want to say, go back to. So
I was working I was staging at Aquavit. Aquavit.
Aquavit. Okay.
And I was really inspired by their menu, but I noticed that while I was watching the line cooks on the protein station, they are partnered with a lot of people who, like a lot of organizations who commit to hunger and like those kind of organizations. And I noticed that they would, for their cod dish and their duck dish and their steak, they were trimming off the side so it would be like a perfect square, and they were just putting it to the side and throwing it to the garbage. And I was just...
Why did you name the restaurant?
So I just saw those two things link up, and I was just as a young cook, I was just confused.
But this is exactly what in the beginning when I was saying what we are doing in Osteria Francescana. This is the attitude that you have to have. When you feed all your employees, there is so much food waste. This is waste. That you can really, there is a risotto, no? That we are cooking now. Is north that wants to be south. Is a risotto and polenta that wants to be a pizza. What we do is we ask it's true. We ask the buffalo mozzarella producer, the best one is called Barlotti, to make buffalo mozzarella not of 500 grams, but 800, 900 grams with a lot of milk inside. So after 24 hours, the milk tastes like mozzarella because it's fermenting. And what we do, we put it inside a green star, and we separate the coagulated things with the milk. And we use just the milk to cook the risotto and to make it taste like a buffalo mozzarella. And under there you have a triple concentrate tomato, capers, anchovies, and the crust is the polenta that we make very thin and smoke and tastes like the crust of the pizza, cornicione. But that kind of mozzarella goes into the stuffed meal because every single Friday evening we have pizza party at the restaurant, and Francescana, Maria Luisa, they all come and we eat pizza all together with that mozzarella that is part of the food waste. So this is the approach you have to have. Is the approach you to share with the people that are working there, or donate to the new refectorio that we are opening there. We know exactly what to do.
Exactly.
I'll be a volunteer.
Jill is there. Jill is there, down there.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
You see, he has the thing. Because he's young, he's passionate, and he was focusing about that. That's a good idea. Jill, hire him.
Thank you, everybody. Come see Massimo after. He'll sign your books.